Hey everyone, I'm Abhi from Hula Hul Games and welcome to another video on this channel. So my coffee maker broke recently and that's the reason I'm having green tea. Oh, that's hot.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
So as you all know, I have been working on Slidey Poop and we released Slidey Poop on Android 2 months ago and it's time to move on to my next game. So I've been thinking about a lot of ideas for what I want to work on next and the number one idea that I personally love is a 2D puzzle platformer. I've been working on a story for a couple of days and it's nowhere near complete, but I would love personally to tell that story through a video game, and that is the reason and motivation for me to make another 2D puzzle platformer. Having said that, I know the path down to create a 2D puzzle platformer is going to be very long and difficult. So I have a plan B. The plan B is to create small mobile games on the side and try to partner with publishers and hopefully earn some revenue from those while I continue work on the 2D platformer itself. Let's just jump into the video. So first things first, we need to make some placeholder art for the game. So I created this green square for the player, gave it one eye and a mouth, looks beautiful. And then I made some gray platforms because it's a 2D platformer, we do need platforms for the player to move on. And then I imported these into Unity and that's it, art is done. So let's move on to implementing the player controller. Then I quickly wrote up a singleton script that can be used as a base class for all the controllers in my game and started work on my player controller. So one thing I need to decide is whether to make my rigid body dynamic or kinematic. For example, if I make it dynamic, it will be pushed around by other rigid bodies, as opposed to if I make it kinematic, then collision with other rigid bodies won't really affect the character. And I think I should go with kinematic because I want to give the full control of the character to the player and I don't want random collisions to send the character flying in some direction. So I'm going to go with kinematic for now. So that means I'll have to implement my own gravity and that's what I did next. So now my kinematic player falls under the force of gravity.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
So to avoid the character from falling through grounds, I had to implement a is grounded check in my player controller. I did this by using physics.overlap circle. So every frame I check for if the player is colliding with the ground, and if he is, then I stop applying gravity. And that definitely fixes this issue. As you can see, it works. Now the player doesn't fall through the ground and just stands on top of it. So that's working. So this morning I've just been brainstorming some other game ideas I have for a few mobile games that I want to eventually pitch to publishers. So I was just deciding on the kind of games and the genres that I can tackle and try to come up with quick prototypes for the same. And now it's time to jump back into the development of our 2D platformer. So I've got the character to move around and jump on platforms, but something still seems off. Oh, that's right, the character needs to face the direction it's moving in.
Hey, watch where you're going.
Okay, I'm going to quickly fix that. And it's fixed. It was really easy, and now the character faces the direction it's moving in. So that's good. So as I was implementing the jumping for my character, I realized that having the rigid body being kinematic is going to cause a lot of problems for me because now I have to detect collisions with everything. Like say the character jumps on a rock or a box. I need to detect that. So I think it is better for me to have the rigid body be dynamic for now. And then if any issues arise in the future and I feel like the dynamic rigid body is not working, then I can switch to kinematic. So all I did was change my rigid body from kinematic to dynamic, and then I also commented out the code that applies the gravity, because now Unity's physics engine will apply the gravity for me, and everything still works the same. So yeah, for now I'm gonna go with a dynamic rigid body instead of kinematic. So the next thing I want to implement in my player controller is the ability to slide on walls and also wall jump. But before I do that, I realize my player is going to suddenly have a lot of states that it can be in. For example, the player can be jumping, running, sliding walls, jumping on walls, and in the future it can also be climbing steps, sliding down slopes, etc. So I think the best way to handle all these states would be to have a state machine instead of a bunch of booleans in my player controller. So today we are going to work on the state machine for our player controller. So let's take a quick look at the design for our state machine. So to implement the state machine, we'll need states, then we would need transitions from one state to another, and we would also need triggers for those transitions. So when we want to go from a run state to jump state, we will have a trigger for jumping, and when that trigger is set, the transition from run to jump will be executed, and then the state machine will update the states accordingly. So let's just start implementing this. So I just got done implementing the state machine. So in our player controller, we have a function that creates the state machine. So first we instantiate the state machine, then we create all the states we want, and then we register the states with the state machine. Then we create all the triggers that will trigger the transitions, and finally we add transitions from one state to another, and also pass the trigger that triggers that transition. So for example, we have a transition here from idle state to run state, and the trigger for this transition is the run trigger. So this really gives us a convenient way to add future states to the player. So all we have to do is create a new state, then register it with the state machine, create the transitions from this state to other state, and if those transitions need new triggers, just add a bunch of triggers over here. And yeah, we start the state machine in the idle state. So tomorrow I'm going to start work on the wall jumping and wall sliding.
Day 4.
Alright, so we have wall sliding working now. So as you can see, as soon as the character sticks to the wall, he slides down slowly instead of just gravity pulling him down. And as soon as you let go, gravity comes into effect. So I think the wall sliding is working now. So the next thing to work on will be jumping on walls. And we have wall jumping working. So now the player can jump across walls, only if I can time this. Yeah, there we go. And they can also slide down the walls. We definitely have to tune these speeds in the future, but for now it's all working. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like, and if you are not subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe and also click on the bell icon to be notified of future videos. and I'm looking for suggestions for the next tutorial I should post on this channel. So if you have any suggestions, please do leave it in the comments below. And as always, have a wonderful rest of the week, and thank you for watching. Also, please follow me on Instagram, link down in the description. And if you have watched the video till the very end, thank you for watching. Bye.